So do you want to start off with your first tip?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Caroline Dunn. I'm a personal trainer, nutrition coach, and yoga teacher. And we're talking about balance. So my first big one about balance today, about balance in your life, was first of all awareness, because it's very hard to achieve balance, like physically, mentally, emotionally, if you're not actually aware of the things in your life. So say, for instance, you're a runner, or you really like crisps. Unless you're aware that you're like doing these things all the time, then it's much harder to explore this idea of balance. So my first one is be aware of all of the different elements of your life. And obviously sometimes one's going to go up, one's going to go down, things will go in seasons. But overall, just by bringing that awareness to these different elements, you can start to think more about how to keep them in balance. So that's my first one. Be aware.
Great. And I'm just going to say hi to everyone joining. So hey, Explore More Fitness and Chia Chili, nice to see you. So we're talking about balance today. So you can pop in the comments, what tips would you share with us about how you found balance? Hey, Katie, what tips would you share with us? Or if you've got any questions, we're talking about how to find balance today. How do we find balance in our life? And I don't know if this resonates with anyone else, but from my personal experience, and it doesn't have to be this way, but I found where I've come back to balance, quite often I've gone from one extreme to the other. So going kind of excessively into something, to sometimes renouncing it, to then be able to, what I would say, gain control of a habit, whether that be with exercise or food habits, whatever. Or some of us have got habits with addiction to relationships, love, all these subjects where we can be out of balance with. So yeah, maybe you know that of yourself, that sometimes we can go extreme to come back into the center. What's your experience with that, Caroline, with you or your clients?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting one, Rachel. I'm so glad you mentioned it. I think quite often the two ends of the spectrum can be seen as almost quite negative, say like overeating and undereating, or excessive exercise, not enough exercise. But I think you're right in that, and without saying we actively pursue these things, the maybe like straying into overindulgence helps us realize what that spectrum is for us, and therefore helps us learn by our experience sort of where we are. And I think I can relate to that when I was marathon training. And just the excessive miles kind of brought home the full effects of doing just that on my body, and made me realize that actually I'm more interested in not necessarily being amazing at one thing. And for me, balance in my body is actually a much bigger variety of exercises. So running's one I've definitely done too much of in order to come back to a more balanced place.
Yeah. And it might be just a moment to ask those of you joining us, what stands out? Where do you feel maybe you can celebrate where you've gained balance, and where can you feel there's still attention and, like Caroline said, awareness to place? Because it's that power of actually recognition and awareness, when we put attention to it, that things can change. Yeah, so be a little food for thought for those of you watching with the subject of balance. What's your next one, Caroline?
Okay, so my next one is thinking long term about balance, because I think it's really easy to get caught up, say, in like this specific number of calories per day, or a specific number of steps per day, or that each meal needs to look with these specific components, or anything like that. And I think that's kind of like this false concept that we've set up in our brain, and we don't have to have this perfect meal, this perfect workout, this perfect day. Instead, let's look at our eating and our fitness and all of the different areas, our relationships, over a much longer period. And if we look over the week, over the month, over the year, actually is there balance in that context? Because naturally, like, our days may feel like more out of balance. You know, you might eat too much one day, not enough the next day, work too much one day, not enough the next day. But overall, longer term, I found that helpful in terms of, well, actually, I've been pretty consistent. I've not done it every day, but I might have done it, I don't know, 50% of the time. Well, long term, that then starts to feed into this, oh, actually, I have been quite balanced. I have been quite consistent about it. What are your takes on that, Rachel?
Yeah, and just listening to you, what comes to mind in those of you that know the context of my work, the more that we can find that balance from the feedback and the experience and feeling from our body rather than our mind, the more that we find sensitivity, I found in my own journey that I can tweak, I can, yeah, I would say tweak and what other word would I use? Yeah, that you just tweak, you know, if one day, as you say, you're eating too much, that you can feel it. It's not from your mind, it's you feel from your body, you feel like your energy or bloated. And I think if we gain the awareness from our body, this for me is where we can pay attention to balance of things, not coming from our intellect, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I've just seen in the chat, like, thank you so much for sharing. I was beating myself up yesterday for not achieving exercise or step goals. Like, this is perfect what we're talking about. Like, yesterday in itself doesn't matter. It's what you're doing over the long term. And like, even with steps, like steps, yeah, might be a great thing in your life. It might bring healthful, but actually, how many steps are you doing on average over the week instead of just one day? You might have slightly more one day, slightly less the other day. And that's okay. I think setting up these false ideals and false perfection, it can end up just being massively unhelpful and a way to like beat ourselves up and give ourselves some unnecessary unkindness. When actually, if we zoomed out and took the bigger picture, we'd be saying, oh, I'm doing okay, rather than being caught in the minutiae of the day.
Yeah, great. And actually it follows on to when we decided to talk about finding balance in our life, the one that came to me immediately, which has been my own personal journey of finding balance, was balance with being active and passive. And I would say, having worked with thousands and thousands of clients, knowing my own tendencies, just looking at us generally as a Western society, we are better or able to be more active, I would say, than passive. I think passivity, in terms of as a necessity, or even if you know, we can learn from animals. Any of you that have cats or dogs, look at cats. They can be very active, and then they just, you know, will just slumber on the sofa, or they move between this balance of necessity of active and passive. So yeah, how does that one sound?
You are so onto something there. I think a lot of it comes from culture and society. Like, we're taught to value productivity and do be busy. And I love that example of the cats and the dogs, because you're right. Like, they do take a lot of rest time, a lot of naps, and I think we don't value that quite often as much as I think we should. Like, we get stronger when we rest, physically, mentally. And I think personally for me, Rachel, like, you know, that there's the tendency to push too hard. And sometimes, just linking back to what we said in the previous bit of the conversation, sometimes you have to push too hard to realize you've pushed too hard and be like, okay, I'm actually quite close to burnout. This is what this end of the spectrum feels like. And therefore, as you say, you can tweak it and bring yourself back into, actually, this is my kind of optimum range for balance. I know that I need to be taking this work and this rest, this play and this being, having experienced the two ends.
Yeah. And it's, I think another word that I listened to recently, which is what I was searching for just earlier, was like fine tuning. So what one of my teachers said was that, you know, we're not failing at anything, whether it be your business or your health or your exercise or your relationship. We're just constantly fine tuning. And if we look at it like that, that we're not failing. And you know what? I think sometimes we go into that pain zone to learn our limits. How else do we know our limits? You know, how else do we know pushing ourselves too hard, as you said? The thing is that we don't fall in the same pothole again and again and again, that we don't destruct and destroy ourselves. And the way that we don't do that is not pushing ourselves from obligation, or as you were just saying, Katie, you were just saying that you gave, yeah, your sounds as though you're fine-tuning, as you were just sharing with us, this experience of yeah, not beating yourself up. So I think look at it like that, because I have to say, I'm not sure that I know another way of how we learn ourselves without, you know, this is learning.
Yeah. But again, I think there's this false ideal in culture that we're good at something, and if we're good at something, that's what we should do. And if it doesn't feel easy, if we're not good at it, then maybe we shouldn't do it. And I literally say this on repeat to my clients: there's no failure, there's only feedback. There's no failure, there's only feedback. And that then opens up just this world of kindness and opportunity and possibility, because it means that there's no success and failure. It means that goals then become like, you've not failed, maybe we just set the wrong goal. If you take it from that sort of framework of actually it's just feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really love that one. Make sure everyone write that down. There's no failure, there's only feedback. It's been so helpful for me for moving away from I'm good at this, I'm bad at this, I've not been good enough at this today, and kind of leaning away from those perfect ideals.
Yeah. Yeah. And just reading what Katie was saying that she's pretty consistent and to drop the unnecessary stress. So something that I like doing, and again, I'm just sharing some inspiration from one of my mentors, my teachers. So one thing that we're not taught to do in our society as children that much is celebrating, to celebrate how far we've come, celebrate today, look back on your life and celebrate how far you've come in the last 5 years, 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah, because that energy and that confidence and trust that you can then align within your system, it gives you a good base to go forwards. And so I think I know it of myself, to think about taking a day off and celebrating our life. You know, what the fuck? I hope there's no kids watching. To take a day off, you know, it wouldn't be something we would think of doing, but to take a day off and do visioning for the next 5 years, we're not it's like we're not allowed to do these things, but I feel they're massively productive and important. You said, Caroline, I think we just know about being productive in a very different way to spending a day celebrating yourself, celebrating how far you've come today.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And I think that links into, doesn't it, this idea of awareness. So if you have the awareness, you zoom out to take the bigger picture, and you realize, actually, maybe I've been more consistent or learned more than I thought I did. Well, at that point that you made that realization, that's the point that you celebrate. Don't just pop it underneath the rug and think, oh, well, that's nice. If you've taken that realization, then celebrate it. And I think no win is too small to celebrate. You're absolutely right. And whether we take one moment or whether we take one day, then celebration as part of that learning, that growth, that feedback, that movement into or towards balance is so important.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite ways to celebrate, Rachel?
To celebrate it,
Yeah.
my favorite ways are just having fun and having a day off with my 4-year-old. I wouldn't always tell you it feels like a gift, but I have got the children are gifts, and I know as parents we find it really challenging, but they are gifts because they connect us to our inner child. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just listening today that if we can create and produce from that part of that playfulness, that inner child within us, we get much more in the flow state, we get much more in flow and in that energy of the universe that that flows with us. So
Yeah, this is just tweak something else in my brain as well. When I think about balance, I think that there is sometimes this false idea that it means potentially equal amounts of time. So if you take, for instance, like work-life balance, a lot of people might potentially struggle with that or think I'd like to improve my work-life balance. And I've found it helpful recently to think about work-life balance doesn't necessarily need to mean equal numbers of hours working as resting. Because again, zoom out. There may be like a more intense week at work, and maybe that's okay. But what's the quality of the time when you're not working? And that quite often is the big shift in terms of work-life balance. What is the quality of the time when you're not working? Are you actually present? And then zoom out over the year. How present have you been in that time off? And that for me is the key thing between work-life balance. It's being present in the time that we're not working, as opposed to it being equal hours. But whilst I'm not at work, I'm still like replying to emails and zinging away on social media and things like this. So yeah, I hope that's helpful to some people out there. This idea of work-life balance doesn't need to be equal hours.
yeah. Yeah, great. Should we do one more each, Caroline, and then I'm going to stay and do a little training with you guys that want to join me?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of like final sort of ideas on balance. In fact, let me just say my biggest ones from the ones that we've said. And there's no failure, there's only feedback. Take the bigger picture. And once you've got that bigger picture, celebrate the consistency and the amazing things that you are already doing. How would you sum up balance, Rachel?
Yeah, so I'll just come back to one of the contexts that we talked about that I think is an important one, because one mantra that I've held dear to my heart for the whole 20 years of my profession in holistic well-being is our health is our biggest wealth. And the way
Yes.
we maintain our health and our energy and our well-being definitely comes from our attention and tuning in to this active and passive, you know, when to rest, when to play, that we recover. And even if, you know, you and I, Caroline, talk a lot about reflection of nature, times where seasonal times that we can learn from nature. So yeah, I think if I was to put it out there for you guys listening to just feel into and think into would be, you know, how are you balancing being productive and active and also having downtime and being more passive and resting?
And I think for me as well, it's realizing that when we're out of balance, then we are uncomfortable. It's dis-ease that if we don't kind of take the steps to come back into balance, be that physically, emotionally, mentally, quite often that dis-ease turns into disease. And that for me raises the priority of balance in my life, because as you said, like health utterly is wealth. And hence why the awareness is so key to realize that if you plant the seeds of unbalance now, what is that going to look like several years down the line? And therefore, how can you take the small steps to move further into balance, further into flow? Yeah.
Great.
Welcome to this short movement practice on balance. We're going to begin seated, so you can be kneeling or cross-legged, whatever is comfortable. And take your hands into your lap or onto your knees. We're going to begin with 3 grounding breaths. Closing the eyes, breathe in through the nose. Soft sigh out of the mouth. And again, breathing in. And out. One more, breathing in. And out. And take a couple of rounds of breath through your nose, feeling yourself arrive in this moment on your mat, in this body. And take one more breath in and breath out. And then blinking the eyes open, come through to an all fours position. And taking your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips, let's begin with a couple of rounds of cat-cow. An inhale dips the belly down, tailbone lifts and draw the heart forwards. An exhale presses and rounds the ground away, tucking the chin and the tailbone. Inhaling, ripple forwards. Exhale, press and round. And again, inhale, heart draws forwards. And an exhale, press and round. And then coming back through a neutral spine as you inhale, stretch your right toes away from you. Flex or point the foot, draw the belly button up towards the spine. Take a breath in. And then your exhale circles the right leg out wide to the side of the mat. Feel the glute med switch on. Take one more breath in here, foot hovering. And exhale, the right leg plants onto the ground. Toes pointing forwards with the little toe side of the foot pressed down. Bring the right hand onto the right leg. As you breathe in, lift up the body, leaning over to the right into a side stretch gate pose. Breathe through the left-hand side of your body, extend through the left fingertips. Gaze down or perhaps up underneath the armpit if that feels comfortable on your neck. As you exhale, release the torso through center. From here, stretch out the fingertips, extend through them to switch on the upper body. And then as you inhale, lift up the right knee to draw it in front of you. And here we're going to have a play with balance. So intentionally move the right knee around, forwards, to the side, and in front. Feel how hard your body has to work to stabilize you. Don't worry if you wobble. Don't worry if you fall. Just keep moving that right leg around, behind, to the side. And then drawing the right knee in front of you. As you exhale, step it down. Low lunge. As you breathe in now, let the hips sink forwards, lift up the arms to the sky in your low lunge. Squaring the hips off to the top of the mat, left hip back, right hip back, left hip forwards. And then as you exhale, hands move back to frame the front foot and step back to your all fours position. Okay, second side. As you inhale, extend out the left toes away from you, draw up your belly button to the spine, point or flex the left foot. And then as you next inhale, circle the left leg around wide of the mat, keeping the foot hovering. And as you exhale, left toes ground down. Little toe side of the foot pressing down onto the mat. Draw your left hand onto your left leg. And as you breathe in, lift up to the left, gate pose. Breathe into the right hand side of your body. Again, maybe gaze down or gaze up underneath the right armpits. Your exhale brings your torso back through center. Stretch out those arms, find some activation, and then inhale, lift up the left knee to hover. And again, we're going to play with that balance. Let the left arms do what they need to do. The arms do what they need to do to help you balance. And draw the left knee behind, to the side, in front. And just play with that movement. Stay with a steady breath. And then draw the left knee in front. And your exhale places the left knee down onto the mat. Your inhale sweeps the arms forwards into a low lunge. Find the activation of the hips underneath you. So the left hip back, right hip forwards this time. One more breath in. And then your exhale, your hands move to frame the front foot. Step the left foot all the way back. This time tuck the toes under and exhale, downward facing dog. And you might have a little wiggle here as you ease things out. Take a big breath in through the nose and out of the mouth. Pause, find some stillness. Knees can stay slightly bent, heels raised to press the hips as high as you can. Pressing the chest back towards the thighs. And as you next inhale, lift the right leg to the sky, three-legged dog. And exhale, step the right foot far forwards to the top of the mat, in between the hands. Bring a hand onto the ankle to encourage it forwards if needed, and then left knee sinks. Inhaling, arms to the sky, low lunge. Stay for the exhale, drawing the belly button to the spine. And then as you breathe in, lift up the left knee, high lunge. As you exhale, bring your hands through to your heart. Your inhale steps forwards, bringing the left knee to the chest. Point or flex the left foot, stork pose. Stay soft with the standing leg, fix your pointed gaze. Breathe in. And then as you exhale, slowly start to hinge at the hip, flexing and sending the left leg behind you, finding length from the crown of the head through to the heel of the foot. Warrior 3. And you might stay here, or you might bring your arms in line with your body. And one more breath in. And then as you exhale, the left toes gently touch down at the back of the mat. Inhaling, sweeping the arms to the sky, high lunge. Exhale, hands move to frame the front foot. And step all the way back, downward facing dog. Second side. Inhale, left leg lifts to the sky. And as you exhale, step the left foot through to the top of the mat, big step in between the hands. Adjust as needed, and then right knee sinks. Inhaling, arms to the sky, low lunge. Find your exhale here, drawing the belly button to the spine, and then as you breathe in, lift up the back knee, high lunge. Your exhale draws your hands through to heart center. And your inhale steps forwards to the top of the mat, right knee lifted to the sky. Find your fixed point of gaze, your drishti. Point or flex the right foot. And then your exhale hinges at the hips. As you lean forward, you extend the right leg out behind you, warrior 3. Keep your fixed point of gaze, your lower belly lifted. Reaching, growing tall from the crown of the head to the sole of the foot. And you can stay with the hands at heart center, or maybe extend them by the side of your torso. One last breath in. Exhale, right toes gently touch to the back of the mat. Inhaling, sweeping the arms to the sky, high lunge. Exhale, hands move to frame the front foot. And then step it back, downward facing dog. Take a breath in. And as you breathe out, let the knees sink. Knees together or apart, and sink the hips back to a child's pose. And take some slow, steady breaths here. Centering, regathering. One more breath in. And breath out. And then creeping the hands back in to draw yourself to a seat. Bringing the hands through to heart center. One more breath in together as one, breathing in and out. Thank you for practicing and balancing with me today.
See you. So what I'm going to take you through now is a little training, and for now I don't know how to turn your, let's see if I can, we'll leave the comments, you can see me, you can hear me. I want you to get really curious and find some more power in a balance of giving and receiving. Let's get curious today about maybe which side of that flow is blocked, or where is the resistance. For some of us it might be both. It might be that we find it difficult to give generously, give fully, give daringly, with courage. We might also find it difficult to receive. You might know that there's one side of what I'm speaking about that is more challenging than the other. So join me and let's do a little training together. You're going to sit, close your eyes. Close your eyes, and we'll hold the intention for the training to open up much more into this flow, balance of giving and receiving. For most of us, it's one that can be very out of balance, blocked, as I said. So think of a flow for a moment. Close your eyes. Think of a flow. It can be like flow, stream, a stream, a flow. And it has movement, yeah? It has movement. Think of something flowing. Let's think of water. So this energy, movement, flow of giving and receiving is one that is constantly moving, changing, and often we can feel quite stuck from one side to the other. So let's start with giving. Let's start with giving. So close your eyes, sit comfortably, and pay attention to the experience when I talk about giving. Just get curious. For you, what does it feel like to give? Notice if there's any reaction, any tension, anything changing in your body. Also pay attention to maybe what comes to mind. What do you tell yourself about giving? That you don't have enough to give, or maybe someone will take advantage of us if we give too much. I've only got enough for myself. Just get curious what beliefs you've got around giving. So I'm getting you to pay attention, one, to the physical reaction, response, to the action of giving. And giving is active. So we've got there the balance of the active and the passive. The passive is receiving. So just notice what happens in your breathing, maybe in your chest. I'm doing it with my eyes closed because I'm joining you in the training. And notice if you feel open, physically open, energetically open, mentally open to giving, or if there's a feeling of shut down or blocked or resistance, tension, contraction. Just notice. And I'd love you just to go into that response to giving a little bit more. Notice if you hold your belly. Notice if you lose sensation of any areas of your body. Notice if areas get alert or become alert, tense, anxious. Okay, and now let go. And for this, actually, you can stand. So you can stand up. So stand, breathe, let go of any effort around giving. Allow any movement, even if it feels a little bit more frightening, to be open to give. All of our reactions that we learn from childhood, either copied, learned, or through our own personal experience, often are because we've got fear around it, fear or pain. Excellent. So stay with me. Stand, let your knees relax. Let go of any tension in your muscles. And then get curious in this place where there's more relaxation. Breathe so that you've got space to give. Space to give from your heart, energy to give. Excellent. And then you can sit again. So just sit again. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. And often we get tension in the upper body. It's common. So for a moment, use the back of your chair to push your upper back into the chair. So just find a little bit of resistance and you'll feel the parallel area is here in your chest. So just bring a little resistance. Okay, and now let go and breathe and pay attention to breathe into your shoulders, breathe into your chest as much as you can, relax your shoulder blades. And those of you that are not familiar with my work, I'm trained in different types of bodywork and healing, different approaches. And what I've learned in terms of this flow of giving and receiving is it's a flow that comes from the heart, if you like. It's also connected with our breath. The breath goes in, the breath goes out. And if you think about when you're giving, it's an action that comes from a wish, an intention, from a heartfelt place, and then it comes out through our hands. We give from our hands into the world. So focus on that area for a moment. You're breathing, that area of your chest, area of your heart. Relax your shoulders. That we want to feel freedom in giving, not obligated, not coming from a duty or forced or pressurized. We give because we want. We feel inspired. Excellent. So pay attention to that area now. Your upper back, your chest, your arms. And come back to the possibility, the subject of giving. And breathe. And soften and relax. And just notice that. Just notice how it feels now to give. To give. To give your time, to give your love, to give your voice, to give your gifts, your qualities, your love, your support. Your purpose. Excellent. So open your eyes for a moment and just let me know how was that. So we're talking about balance, and I've just taken you through a little training of giving, and we're now going to go into receiving. And as I mentioned, often receiving is a tricky one for many of us, but also giving can be as well. So yeah, I'd love you to get curious about your own patterns around giving and receiving. So let's focus now on receiving. Close your eyes with me. Close your eyes and notice what happens when even I bring that intention of receiving. Often it can be a very immediate response in our body. And notice We want to learn it because when we learn something, we've got a better chance of stopping it, of changing it, of refusing it. So just notice what response or reaction or tendency is happening when I talk about receiving. And what do we receive? What can we receive? Care, admiration, we can receive compliments, we can receive love, we can receive money, financial support. We can receive a partner, a child. We can receive gifts. We can receive energy. So just think about all the things you can receive and notice what you do with this idea of receiving. Notice what happens. Notice if there's anywhere in your body now resisting that possibility of receiving. Blocking or resisting or tensing, pushing back, or you may feel relaxed with receiving. And just notice. Don't do anything with it for the moment, don't have to change it. In fact, just for the moment, intensify that a little bit more, your own natural response to receiving. What do you do with receiving? What have you learned to do? And often we learn from a young age. We don't need to go into the memories or the history right now, but just notice. If anything comes up, that's fine. Okay, and you're going to keep this response, this reaction for a little bit longer. So notice, so I can feel there's a tension here in my chest, my shoulders feel tense. So just notice for yourself. You might notice something with your legs or your belly. It might be that your eyes are difficult to relax. You might feel tension in your neck, or you might feel nothing. You might feel completely relaxed. That's okay, whatever your experience is, it's valid. Okay, now let go, and we're going to stand again. And if you need to bring any movement or place a hand as a way to breathe and get more awareness to opening, go ahead. And breathe into those areas where you felt tension. You can bring any movement if it helps to open any areas of the body. Any sound, you can let it out. Deep full breaths. And focus on 6 directions with your breath now, to your head, to your feet, to your right, to your left, to your front and your back. And then you can just start to twist, swing the arms. You can go up, higher, you can drum around the belly. Just bring some movement through the arms. Okay, and you can sweep down the legs and up the legs, up your chest and down through the arms. Excellent. And then come back to sit with me. So sit again, close your eyes, come back to this intention of finding balance, finding flow, in giving and receiving, in giving and receiving. And so think about something that you would like to receive, something you want to receive. Take the first thing that comes to mind and breathe. And allow, naturally there's a little fear, allow the excitement, the anticipation of receiving something, trusting, relaxing, having faith that what you asked for is already given, being open to receive it. And then consider the intention of giving, so the other flow, the other side of the flow that we're focused on together today. And think of something that you would like to give generously, open-heartedly, warmly, without expecting anything in return, something you would like to give that you're not maybe giving right now, or maybe you're not giving fully. So think of that something. Excellent, and stay relaxed with considering what you would like to give. Breathe to your belly. Allow again the aliveness in the body, this natural aspect of being human, this pleasure of giving and receiving, which gets blocked as we grow up for different reasons, for good reasons as well, because remember, we are always protecting ourselves for good reasons, but we want to come back into balance, which is the subject for today. Excellent. So if you followed me in today's training about giving and receiving, just drop me a little comment, let me know how it was. Which side of the coin did you feel more, or what did you find easier? Was it the giving or was it the receiving? Because I'm just curious if you want to drop a comment for me and let me know. Sorry, I don't know how to turn off the comments so that you can see me, but you can hear my instructions, and that's the main thing. And I'm curious about your comments. So yeah, let me know if anyone wants to share how it was for you, the training. And you can continue going into the day, being mindful, being aware, breathing, relaxing into that potential possibility of giving and receiving more. Okay, see you next time.